Hello everyone, welcome to Grow Money Trading Analysis for this week. And for everyone from the GMT side, please wish Happy Mother's Day to your mothers. And if you have kids, Happy Mother's Day to your spouses as well. With that, we'll start with the analysis of the major indexes in the US market and also Canadian, and then we will take the stocks that are requested by members who are on the call and some of the requests that those are done by um, GMT members in the group. So starting off with the SPX index, S&P 500 index, looking the chart on a weekly timeline, we see that the last week market had made a high higher than the previous week, as we had seen in the last week's analysis. And the candle that it has formed is called doji candle. It almost touched the upper Bollinger, the mid Bollinger band. The high that it made of 5,720, it almost touched the mid Bollinger band, which could act as a resistance on the weekly trend. So you can expect this week the market to touch the mid Bollinger band and face resistance. If you look at Williams R and RSI, they have flattened. Until last week, the trend was upward, but now it has flattened. The MACD has not touched the zero line, which still shows that there could be some upside, but in terms of the correction, you can expect correction at the mid Bollinger Band. If we look on the daily chart, it traded about 200 EMA on the daily chart, which shows strength. However, in terms of the Williams R, it has been in the overbought region, and RSI has flattened. Even MACD, if you see, is almost flat. So for those who have stocks which are tracked by S&P 500 index, if you are still holding onto your positions, it would be good time to book your profits. As the market is overbought, you can expect some correction coming either in the next week or in the following week. So with the current pattern that we see on the daily chart and what we saw on the weekly chart, these two candles are indicating a bearish trend or a small correction in which the prices could drop. The mid Bollinger Band on the daily chart is at 5,485, so about 150 points drop. And then there is also a gap up here. So depending upon how steep is the fall, if it drops quickly, it could reach this level where it has a gap up, and typically market tends to close the gap up. So for now, watch for the trading in the early week, and based on that, you can first off, if you have all some positions in profit, it would be good to book profit and then see if the market is taking a downward trend. Let's look at other indexes as well. So nasdaq 100 is the index that we typically analyze for the tech stocks. And if you look closely on the weekly chart of NDX, it has almost formed a similar pattern. Um, the high here was 2249 and the mid Bollinger Band is at 366. So we could see the start of the week at the mid Bollinger Band level and formation of a red candle, which means uh, correction. Again, the Williams R and CCI is flat. If you look on the daily chart, the same candle formation on the daily chart for NDX as well. Williams R is in overbought region, and with the red candle that it has formed in the last day, expect some correction. For NDX, the mid Bollinger Band is at 19,288, which is almost 800 points. And also there's a small gap up here. So in short, it shows that the coming week you should be cautious in terms of opening any new position, and looks good for booking your profits, at least based on the NDX and SPX index analysis. Um, let's also complete the SOX index, which is semiconductor index. On the weekly chart for SOX, the last three candles have been green, which is called uh, green or white marching soldiers. Williams R and RSI is still upward, and mid Bollinger Band is at 4,683, which is close to 400 points above. So for the semiconductor stocks, you can still expect the coming week to be bullish based on the pattern that we see on the weekly chart. If we go on to the daily chart, the last three candles have made higher highs, which is an indication of uh, further continuation or further highs to expect in the coming days in the week. The point to be cautious is that Williams R is in overbought. RSI is 59 and upward, and usually the overbought from RSI is at 70. So we can expect some upside here with the 200 EMA on the daily chart at 4,699, which is to 4,000, close to 4,700. So there is some upside still for the semiconductor stocks. And if you are holding semiconductor stocks, AMD, NVDA, um, you can hold it for higher targets. And we can see the targets for those stocks as on the charts of the individual stocks. But in terms of the overall semiconductor stocks, it looks good to continue holding for the higher levels. Any questions for these indexes before I move to Yahoo Finance for the other indexes? All right. Okay. So if there's no questions, we'll take DJI, Dow Jones Index, and on the weekly chart, if we look at Dow Jones, uh, it the high in the last week it touched the EMA 50 here, and we saw the last week as uh, it made a high slightly lower than the previous week high and has formed a small red candle, which indicates that it is already in the over. Um, there's some profit booking happening. From the indicators, we see that it has almost flattened because of the last week's candle, and um, for the coming week, it would be good to be just watchful instead of opening any new positions. And if we look on the daily chart, on Thursday it touched the upper Bollinger Band and has formed a small red candle on the last session, which has resulted in Williams hour turning downwards from the overbought region. So this indicates that a small correction in the coming week, at least on the daily chart, is expected. The mid Bollinger Band is at 40,318. Currently, it is at 41,249. So almost um, close to 900 points of correction for from the Dow Jones Index. At uh, with this pattern, based on the indexes that we have seen, for those who are new, avoid buying opening a new position. The current patterns on the charts are indicating that it's either in the overbought condition or close to overbought, which is good time for profit booking and waiting for correction to happen to open a new position. So those were the US market indexes. Now let's see the Canadian index as TSX composite for the Canadian market. The last 5 weeks have been bullish in the Canadian market. It has been forming uh, green candles, and with the pattern that it has formed in the last week, if you can see, let me expand. It's almost a doji candle where it opened and closed almost at the same levels, which shows that the buying is facing an exhaustion. However, since the upper Bollinger Band is at 26,117, there's still an upside. It is almost at the resistance with a small upside. So if you are holding on to your any of your positions, you could hold for this week to see if it reaches this level of 25,600, which is another close to 300 points for booking your profits. If we look on the daily chart, on the daily chart, it's inching towards the upper Bollinger Band, which could be the level where you could start seeing profit booking happening, and you could also plan to book your profits. So compared to US indexes, the Canadian index still shows some small upside in the short term. And that small upside could be the levels where you could book your profits. All right. So after the Canadian stocks, let's go to Bitcoin for those who are trading cryptos. Um, it's almost close to the resistance near the all-time high. So if you are holding Bitcoin or some of the bigger cap crypto coins, you could either book your profits at these levels. With the current trend, although the Williams R is in oversold, RSI is still showing some upside, and also the uh, Bollinger Band, which is showing another 10K of upside. If you want to be conservative, you could book your profits, or uh, book about 80 to 90% of your positions profit and keep 10% for the uh, new high if it makes at 156K. And this is in Canadian dollars. Let's see on the daily chart. On the daily chart, has it has started forming a red candle above the upper Bollinger Band, which clearly is in overbought position. So if you want to book your profits, this could be a good time to book your profits looking at the daily chart. Again, if you want to um, see if it goes further up, just keep about 10% of your positions, 10 to max 20%, and would be good to book your profits for the 80% of your positions. Looking at the daily chart, it's even more clearer that it's good time to book your profits because it is already in the overbought region, since it is above upper Bollinger Band. Now moving on to the commodities for those who are trading crude oil. As we had analyzed in the last week, it was a very good opportunity to enter crude, and it has made a good bullish move in the last week. Um, and this week starting, uh, it looks to be at a good place for those who are trading crude oil and would be bullish. The MACD has turned upward. Williams R at this stage on the weekly chart is showing slightly flattish, but it's still in the oversold region, and it's good to enter if you are uh, looking to take crude oil position on a weekly trend, which would mean for few weeks to a couple of months. And if we see on the daily chart, there has been a clear reversal. Currently, it is at the mid Bollinger Band. Since it is at the mid Bollinger Band, there could be small profit booking, but with the last two candles, the Williams R and MACD indicators, it has uh, clearly aligned to show that there's a bullish move for the crude oil. Currently, it is at 61. The EMA 50 is at 64, 63, and upper Bollinger Band is at 65, which could be the next resistance for your targets. And if the bullish move continues, the next target would be 70. So if we just go back to the weekly chart, the mid Bollinger Band is at 68. So first target could be 64.5, what we saw on the daily chart. Second target could be 68, and third target 70 if you are planning to hold for uh, over 2 to 3 weeks. All right, so these were the indexes and commodities as well that we analyze. Any questions from anyone in terms of the indexes before we go on to the stock requests? Are we good?
Yeah, Kamal.
Great. So let's take the stock requests from our groups. Um, Before I start taking the ones that are requested in the chat, um, though for those who are on the call, if you'd like to add your request, you can start putting in the chat. Or if you want to speak up, we can take yours first before we go on to the other requests. Right, so I can see here a baby. I'll just mute it. Okay, Vivek has requested Tesla and Gaurav has requested NTR. So we'll start with Tesla as many GMT members are trading Tesla or Tesla ETF. We'll start with the weekly chart. Tesla in the last week, it has been bullish. The last session, especially, it moved over 4.5%, and its ETF, the two times ETF, it moved close close to 9.5%. So, if you look at the pattern on the weekly chart, the last week's candle it has closed above the EMAs, and the mid Bollinger Band is at 322, which would be the next resistance, and stronger resistance above that would be close to 350, which is the 200 EMA on a weekly chart. The Williams R and RS, Williams R specifically, and MACD is showing an upward trend. RSI has flattened but is close to 50 and indicates that there is still an upside with 20 more points to go on the RSI. Looking at the daily chart, in the last session, it has touched the upper Bollinger Band and has had profit booking. So we can see an upward price rejection in the last session since it made a strong move, and the traders who were in profit, they booked their profits on the last session. Um, Looking at the Williams R, it it was in over bought region, and that's why the profit booking has started. So for those who are already on Tesla, for the short term or swing trades, if you haven't booked your profits in the last session, it would be good to book your profits at the start of trading week tomorrow. And for those who are on Tesla for few weeks to few months, you could still hold on to your positions, um, and look for the higher targets that we saw on the weekly chart, or you could book your some uh, position profit and plan to re-enter once it has small correction. With the correction, the levels to look for entry or re-entry, uh, it's EMA here at 278.5 would be the first target to look. If it has a steep correction, then mid Bollinger Band level at 268. For those who are not watching the markets and would like to put limit orders, you could set a limit buy at 270 um, for the higher targets that we discuss on the weekly chart. In terms of market steep correction, and knowing that uh, by next month we could start hearing some of the decisions for the tariff on various countries. If there are news coming out from White House sooner, there could be impact on the overall market trend. Um, so be watchful on any news coming from the White House as well. Uh, if there's a negative news which causes correction like what we saw early April, then the strong level for entry in Tesla would be near the lower Bollinger Band at 226. So, which is close to 70 points and would definitely um, be stimulated based on strong negative news in the market. If that doesn't happen, then mid Bollinger Band would be a good entry level. Vivek, any question for Tesla before I go to TSLL?
No, man, no, it's all good.
Great. And quickly, if we see TSLL on the weekly chart, following the similar trend, currently it is at 1134 or 1140 in the aftermarket. The next levels to look for booking your profits, the two EMAs are merging at 1490. That could be the next target, and mid Bollinger Band and 200 EMA are merging close to 1687. So 1680 could be the next strong resistance to book your profits if you have entered anywhere uh, from the low of this year and until current price. Uh, MACD is still showing an upside. Williams R is still showing an upside on the weekly trend. RSI almost flat, but still it is under 50, which shows that there is an upside on the weekly chart, on the weekly pattern. And on the daily chart, as we saw on the Tesla, it touched the upper Bollinger Band and has seen profit booking. So expect a small correction um, in the near term, in the coming week. And the levels to look for entry would be uh, $10 at this EMA and then mid Bollinger Band at 930. If there's a strong correction happening, then the lower Bollinger Band is at 670. So buying at $7, uh, if it happens, then looking for a target of 15 is almost like 100% returns uh, if the market drops. All right. So I'll continue with the request. If there are any questions, feel free to unmute and ask. I'll take the next request from Vic about Google.
Hey, Kamal, could you mind adding the indicator called DMI, the directional movement index?
Okay, sure. See if it's there. This one? DMI or DMA?
DMI.
Okay, DMI is currently at 2112 for Google. Let's see the trend on the other indicators that we already have. Sorry. Okay, so for Google, Google has had a big drop this week. If you look closely on the weekly chart, it has faced resistance at this EMA level close to 163 and has formed a big red candle with higher volumes. The indicators have turned downward. Williams R, RSI have turned downwards. Our MACD is still in the um, upward direction because of this move that it had had from the low. But looking at the indicators, Williams RSI, which give early indication, the trend on the weekly chart is bearish, and we have to see on the daily chart. If you look at the daily chart on Wednesday, it had a deep fall, almost moving from the close to upper Bollinger Band to touching the lower Bollinger Band. And there was kind of dead cat bounce in the Thursday session. However, on Wednesday, it has formed a red candle, indicating that it's downward. The Williams R is still downward. RSI has curved slightly down, and MACD is also down. So can expect, based on the indicators, that it can move further down close to 150, which is the lower Bollinger Band. So if you have entered, you could still hold, or uh, plan to add to your positions at the lower Bollinger Band level of 150. If we see the 150 level on the weekly chart, yeah. So here it had formed a low of 147.5 and then moved up, then 150.9 and 150.9. So 150, 151, based on the weekly trend, we have seen that the market has pulled up, and lower Bollinger Band here is at 149.5. So 150 could be the entry price for those who are looking to enter freshly or would like to add to the existing Google positions. Wait, do you have any specific question for Google?
No, man, I think you're right. It's the trend is also bearish only. So I think I should either hold long or exit with. I'm currently having a little bit of loss in it, but that's I it's Google, so I'm not worried about it. So yeah,
Yeah. So if you had entered, or did you enter after the fall or before the fall?
before the fall. I
Okay.
mean, like I have been holding profit for like long time, but I just held it. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's still 1 or 2%. But still, I can it's Google. I don't have to worry much. It can come back.
Right. So what you could do is, like, when it takes support close to 150 and reverses up, you could plan to
And
increase to your positions and see if you can bring your average down close to the mid Bollinger Band,
okay,
and plan to exit sooner than later. Like 159 is the mid Bollinger Band,
yeah,
and even on the 4 chart, I think it's 160 is
yeah,
possible.
160, yeah, 160. I was expecting 160. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 chart, for some reason it takes time to load on Webull, but yeah, 159.9. So if you
Mm,
can bring your average to 159, you would be able to exit sooner in small profit or close to break even.
sure, man. Thank
Okay,
you.
no problem. Okay, so the next one is Apple. For some reason, on the 4-hour chart, we will takes longer time. I should have. All right. Okay, so Apple has been in downtrend for past 2 weeks. The good thing about the level that it touched on the last week is that it has touched the 200 EMA. So although the indicators are Williams R and RSI are still downward, um, MACD has flattened. So if you are looking to enter based on this level, although the lower Bollinger Band is at 185, but typically 200 EMA forms a strong support. So if you are looking to enter, at least on the weekly chart, it's in oversold position and taking support at 200 EMA, which could be good to consider for entry. And let's see on the daily chart. On the daily chart, Williams R is at minus 75 and RSI is at 43, which shows that there's still some downside to expect. And looking at the last three candles, it did not touch the lower Bollinger Band. And with the small correction that we are expecting for S&P 500 and nasdaq, we can expect it to drop to the lower Bollinger Band. So 190, and that has been the support here previously. So once it drops under 190 and starts moving up, would be good to consider Apple for entry. For those who are looking to enter, um, its EMA 200 is at this level at close 193. Um, but in terms of the entry from the daily chart, 190 would be good level for entering Apple. So wait for the small correction, keep in your close watch list. Um, and when it starts reversing around 190, you can plan to enter. The targets for Apple would be 200 close to mid Bollinger Band. 202 is the mid Bollinger Band. So 200 could be your first target, then 210 and 218 for those who are taking swing trades. All right. Any questions from anyone for either of the stocks that we have discussed? If there are, feel free to interrupt. And if there are no questions, then I would move on to the next request from Gaurav for the Canadian stocks, NTR and EQB. TR.TO. Open up here. Gaurav, are you already in NTR or are you looking to enter? Looking at the trend on the weekly chart, it almost touched the upper Bollinger Band last week. Last week also tried to touch the upper Bollinger Band, but was able to make lower highs and last to last week, and last week also it made a lower high. So from the indicators, it has been in last 3 weeks, it has been in over bought position. With last candle, it shows that it can still try to go upward, but the upside is very small. So the high here is, uh, if we look on the Bollinger Band here, 79.46. Currently, it is at 77.48. So if you are already on Neutron, it would be good to book your profits and hold with a strong stop loss. So the low of the last week could be your stop loss if you want to hold for the higher targets, or you could plan to book your profits because it is showing a correction at least on the weekly chart. Let's see on the daily chart. On the daily chart, it has touched the mid Bollinger Band, and yeah, so with the pattern that we are seeing on the daily chart, you can hold it for the target of high that it has made. Yeah, I think 78.6 looks to be a good level for booking your profits if you haven't booked your profits yet. Okay, Gaurav, if you have question, feel free to unmute or put in the chat. All right, so being conscious of time, we'll go to the next request from Gaurav, which is EQB. This Equitable Bank. EQB, let's see on the weekly chart. The weekly chart, again, 2 weeks back, it almost touched the EMA 50 and um, has turned downward. And upon correction, the next level for entry would be at $90.23. The RSI has turned downward. Williams R has also turned slightly downward. Uh, so if you are looking to enter, that's what you mentioned in the chat as well. So 90.23 on the weekly chart. Let's see on the daily chart. On the daily chart, it is clearly falling down. It is currently at the mid Bollinger Band, and the lower Bollinger Band is at 89.50. Uh, so look for reversal at 89.5, and you can place an order for entry at $90 that we saw. Also has an EMA on the weekly chart. If we try to draw a distance here, yeah, uh, looking at the resistance on the with the sorry support with the candles on the daily chart, 89.5 or 90 would be good entry if you are interested in entering. And for targets, once you enter, then the mid Bollinger Band, which is currently at 93, but once you take the position, depending upon the um, mid Bollinger Band level and upper Bollinger Band level, you can decide your targets with the plan of either taking a swing trade or short to medium term trade. All right, and just to give you the levels based on the current pattern. So if you enter close to 89.50 or $90, then the upper Bollinger Band on the daily chart, and then the mid Bollinger Band on the weekly chart could be your target levels. Mid Bollinger Band is at 99.50, which would give close to 10% return if you enter at around 89 or $90. And the upper Bollinger Band as of now it is at 97.5, and there's also an EMA at 101. So by around 90 looks to be a good opportunity with uh, a target close to 99 or $100. All right, so that we will move next. There's a request for coin. So Coinbase. Coinbase in the last two sessions, it has had a small red closing. The last candle is a, almost a gravestone doji, and Williams R and RSI has flattened slightly downward. It indicates further correction, but the only good point is that it is taking support on the EMA here. Uh, so if it takes support at this EMA, um, it might resist in falling further. However, the trend based on the last two candles and EMAs indicate that there's further correction expected. And especially if we look on the daily chart, it had a high close to the upper Bollinger Band and the EMA where it has had profit booking, and it formed a red candle close almost like gravestone doji or the upward price rejection, which indicates a further drop in the price. The EMA has turned downward, RSI has turned downward, even the MACD is slightly downward. So expect coin to drop. The mid Bollinger Band at 193 would be the level that you should be watching for support. However, if the drop is steep, and if it breaks this 193 level at the mid Bollinger Band, then the next support level would be close to the lower Bollinger Band, which is at 163, which is um, close to $30 drop. So if you are on coin, if you have entered, watch for support at the mid Bollinger Band, and if it drops below the mid Bollinger Band, plan to book your loss and then re-enter at 167 or 170. If you are planning to enter, the lower Bollinger Band level appears to be a strong support. If you see here, that could be the level for you to enter for uh, taking it for the levels which are currently mid Bollinger Band and upper Bollinger Band as your targets upon entry close to 170. All right, so Umesh, if you have already entered, watch for these levels for entry. Yes, Umer, you have your hands up. if you want to speak, just feel free to ask your question. Okay, so just being conscious of the time, I will move ahead with the other requests that have been made by members in the group. One more from Vivek. He had requested for an ETF which follows UNH. Let's go with United Health. We analyzed this stock couple of weeks back, and it has been continuing in its downtrend. Uh, Consistently in last 4 weeks, it has been forming lower lows. It is in oversold position. However, if you look at the RSI and Williams are both are downward. The RSI is almost reaching a level where it had a reverse earlier, but the MACD has not shown reversal yet. With its pattern on the weekly chart, it's good to look at the daily chart. No, sorry, monthly chart. The next strong support appears to be 100 points lower. Um, and because this is on a monthly chart, that it might take quite a few months to reach those levels. So in case if you are looking for short term trade, based on the weekly chart, it is in the oversold region. In the daily chart, it shows that it's in the oversold region as well. However, the lower Bollinger Band is at 300, which is another 80 points. Only MACD is showing kind of reversal, but there's not much of volume to support as well. In terms of dividend yield, it is giving 2.21%. So, Vivek, if you are looking to enter this still in terms of risk, there seems to be a higher risk, and the indicators have not given a clear reversal yet.
Yeah. I mean, they have this ETF YUNH. If you are entering, look into that. I only have a small position here, but I would scale up on this because this would run. And once it reverses, it's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at
And
this point, based at least based on the technical indicators, it's in it suitable to keep in watch list rather than buy. If you are already on it, um, you, you can keep your positions in small quantity. Um, when it starts going up, the upside is attractive. Mid Bollinger Band is at 446, which is close to $75 upside. There's a big gap down, which it would definitely at some point try to close, at least the halfway through, which is the level that we are seeing here at close to 515. So from upside, once it gives a clear reversal, it would be good to enter. But until there is clear reversal, from the technical point of view, it's a stock to be in the watch list. Watch for the reversal and then to enter. Um, Even on the monthly chart, it is under the lower Bollinger Band, which makes it attractive for those who are planning to enter. But entry at this point would be only in small quantity because there is no clear reversal yet. Okay. And if you are already on it, you can continue to hold and plan to add to your positions upon clear reversal. All right, so we will move on to some other requests in the GMT group. There's a request for RGC, which has had huge spike. So if we look at this stock, it was uh, 52 weeks low of $3, and currently it is at $366. So there would be some who would have made good money out of this, but if you are someone who is looking at this stock now, since it has touched 380 above the upper Bollinger Band on any chart you see, monthly chart, daily chart, weekly chart, in the technical terms it is in highly overbought position, and with the momentum that it has had in last couple of weeks, it may touch 400 as well, just with the momentum. But based on technicals, I would not recommend to enter at this price. People who are already in good profits, they would start booking their profits and expect correction for the stock sometime soon. If anyone wants to take a risk, then it would be purely based on momentum, not based on the technicals for entry at this price level. Yeah, I clicked on 4-hour chart, which would take time to load. So just based on the monthly, weekly, and daily chart, where it is in overbought region, highly overbought region. So wait for the correction to happen and then plan to enter. And once the correction happens, then we can revisit this talk to discuss what would be the good entry level for this price. Because if you look at the current indicator levels, there's huge difference from the current price to the buy levels that it's indicating, because it has uh, not traded at those levels previously. Okay, so Dan, what if you will be watching the recording, um, plan to keep this stock in your watch list, even if people would have made good profits. It would not be good to enter. And yeah, and Gaurav has added a good point here as well. So if you look at the volumes are not consistent, um, which is not encouraging. The volume in the last session, where it went 72% up, is just 122K, which means there could be some market manipulators who would be buying to the stock at higher price just to bring more retail buyers in, and then they would close the positions in profit, and the retail buyers would end up being holding it in loss. So thanks, Gaurav, for your point as well. In terms of the volume inconsistencies and the spike that it has had, it's only a stock to keep in watch list and not to enter based on the technicals. It's purely a momentum stock. All right, so the next one that was mentioned again in the chat was VKTX. This stock in 2020, it had 2024 as well, it had huge spike. This we are looking on the monthly chart, and on the monthly chart, last month it had moved up, but this month so far it has formed a red candle. Let's see on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, indicators are downward, although it is touching this EMA level, and EMAs are showing that it is taking the resistance here. The indicators are showing downward trend. On the daily chart, you see it had touched the upper Bollinger Band and is going through correction. So if you are looking to enter this stock, watch for it to take support at the mid Bollinger Band level here at 2616. So wait for it to drop close to 2616 and see if it starts moving up and the indicators have reversed up. That's when you could enter. If the indicators do not reverse, wait for it to drop close to the lower Bollinger Band. The lower Bollinger Band level here, $22 would be a good entry price for this stock. Once you enter at 22, the first target could then be your mid Bollinger Band of 26. The upper Bollinger Band is at 30.5. And let's see, there are more targets on the weekly chart. The target of 30 could be your second target, and from the daily chart the EMA here is at 27, which is the current price, so that's fine. So if you enter at 22, your first target could be 26. The second target would be the upper Bollinger Band here, and the uh, EMA level that we saw on the weekly chart, which is 30.5. If you plan to hold for higher targets, hold with small position in case it gives a spike that it gave back in 2024. So if it gives a spike, then the targets would be the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. But that's on the best case. So and entering at the lower Bollinger Band for a swing target levels of 26 and 30 still gives a good returns on a $22 stock. All right, moving ahead, there were few pharma stocks which are in Wake's watch list. We can come to those. Okay, let's quickly finish those. Um, I'll be quick in terms of the analysis for these. TEVA, it has had a good upward move in the last 3 weeks. The last candle is doji, which means profit booking has happening, and uh, the direction is not clear. Looking at the last candle on the daily chart, sorry, it has formed a bearish engulfing, which means the price is expected to drop. So watch this for the correction, and the price level for this to enter would be the mid Bollinger Band at 15, or if you see reversal at 1574, that could be your buy price. However, if it starts dropping under 15, uh, do keep a stop loss at 1490 or 1485, and if the stop loss hits, then the entry price would be near 13.25. Okay. The next one is Nuvo. It's not showing up. So be the one. On the weekly chart, the indicators have turned downward. On the daily chart, it seems to be taking support at the mid Bollinger Band. So if you are watching this, watch for it to take support at the mid Bollinger Band. After it closes this gap, so this 62.7 or 63 uh, could be the buy level with a stop loss at 6. The low here was 60.5, so with the stop loss at 60.5 for the first target at 70, which is the upper Bollinger Band on the daily chart, and the mid Bollinger Band on the weekly chart 77 if you are planning to hold it for few weeks. And we'll take Thermo Fisher. All right, Thermo Fisher, unlike the other ones that we saw, from last 3 weeks, it has been forming higher highs with marching soldiers as the pattern. The indicators are showing further upside. It has closed above the mid Bollinger Band, which shows bullish sentiment in the market. So if you are considering this stock compared to the other ones that we discussed, it has good potential based on the weekly chart. For entry, wait for it to correct. It is currently at the EMA, which could form a resistance. And once it's correct, you could enter close to the mid Bollinger Band here at 26.25 for the higher targets. And the current upper Bollinger Band, which is at the current level, and then the resistance here on the weekly chart, which is close to the upper Bollinger Band. Those could be the targets. So, looking at the trend on the weekly chart, there's a bullish sentiment for this stock. The only downside is the volume. If you look at the volume again, is way lower. So for those who are trading swing trades or especially momentum trades, if the volume is less than million or 750K, that's a red signal. It means there are only few buyers who are trying to take the price up. So from the volume perspective, it's not favorable. However, if you are following this stock closely and you're uh, following the industry, you could consider based on your interest. All right, so the next one will take Lily. All right. Based on the weekly chart, it has had a bearish move. The indicators are downward. It is close to the lower Bollinger Band, which is at 700. So another $36, 35 to $36 drop. The aftermarket price is 36. That's why I said 36. Based on the daily chart as well, it is downward. It is already in the oversold position as per the Williams R. However, uh, looking at the clear downtrend, expected to further go downwards, and the lower Bollinger Band on the daily chart is close to 700 two, which could be a good buy price for this stock if you are interested in watching this stock. The lower Bollinger Band and lower Bollinger Band on the daily chart and weekly chart are close uh, to the same levels, which could be a good buy price. So as of now, it's a good stock to keep in watch list and wait for it to drop another close to 35 points and plan to enter at that level. Next is NVDA. NVDA is one of the favorite stocks for some of the members in the group. Uh, Looking at the last 3 weeks, it has formed green candles. The Williams R has almost flattened, but is still upward. RSI is also upward. So based on the weekly chart, um, currently it is at 160, 116, and there's another $6 upside on the weekly trend. As we saw on the semiconductor index analysis as well. So if you are currently holding, you can expect it to go further up for booking your profits. Uh, the last two candles have formed uh, smaller red candles, which shows correction. And if it drops the mid Bollinger Band level here at 109, it also closes this gap, which could be a good buy price for those who are planning to enter freshly or planning to re-enter. 109.5 would be a good buy price unless there is um, huge negative news in the market, in which case it could drop further. But for a normal correction, 109.5 looks to be a good buy price, and target of 122 uh, for those who are currently holding or would be entering and planning to hold for the targets. All right, so quickly we'll take AMD. AMD again, in the last three candles on the weekly chart, it has shown an upward move. It has not reached the overbought region yet, and uh, clearly the indicators are showing uptrend, and the AMD's move upside could also take the SOX index upwards as well, as we saw earlier. So for those who are holding AMD, 106.70, which is the mid Bollinger Band, and the next EMA level is at 113. Uh, and following that, 120 would be the target. But um, before it goes to 120, this level of 113 looks to be a good target for AMD if you are already on it. If you are someone who is looking to enter AMD upon correction, uh, the buy level here close to $99 would be a good price. If it goes further up, plan to either add to your positions or you could enter at $95, which is the mid Bollinger Band, and take it further for the higher targets that we discuss on the weekly chart. So from the this week's perspective, for those who are holding on to AMD or NVIDIA, uh, you could consider to hold it further for the higher targets, or plan to add to your positions upon the small correction. And we'll take TMO requested by Arslan. TMO is Thermo Fisher. TMO has been in the downtrend. It has been touching the lower Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. On the monthly chart, it has dropped under the lower Bollinger Band. It's in oversold region in Williams RSI. On the monthly chart, on the daily chart, it's again in the oversold region and touching the lower Bollinger Band. So if you are watching this closely, although the next EMA is at 300, yeah, the next EMA is at 300. So if you are watching this closely, you can continue to keep this in watch list, and when you see a reversal on the daily chart, you can plan to enter. The current level of 400, it still has a good upside. However, you should enter this with a close stop loss. So 401 was the low. Uh, Wait for a reversal on the day chart and then enter it with a stop loss of uh, 400 or 390. Since it made this low in the last session, it would be good to watch for the reversal, and once it reverses, then enter it with a stop loss of 398 or 399. um, the targets would be, first target would be your mid Bollinger Band, which is at 425, and the next target 448 if it attempts to touch 450, which is a good return if this stock reverses. So for now, just keep in your watch list, close watch list, to see if there's a correction and you can enter. All right. So with that, I think we have covered most of the request. Vivek, do you want to see analysis for N1, or are you already out of it?
Uh, Couple like NVON, I'm out of it because like I got like 20% from its drop. So, but like it's a good one to keep because so basically like I would say like the pharma stocks are not the style that GMT trades. Okay,
Yeah.
so they are good for like long term sector growth kind of stocks.
Mhm.
So once techs fall, this pharma or communications can go up. So that's how like I got into that. But like I exited the moment it gave 20%. I don't think it won't go any further, and I exited it. So um, it's something we can watch. Like um, it's called Novo Nordisk. The ticker symbol is NVON. Uh, it also has the Canadian thing. Yeah, first one. Yeah,
Okay. No, oh, yeah.
yeah,
We analyzed this. No.
yeah. So that's a good stock. So
Mhm.
uh, they deal with obesity and all those stuff. So yeah.
All right. So that's good. Good that you made profits with this stock. Yeah, and Most of the pharma stocks that we saw as of now are um, good to keep in the watch list and see if it reverses, then enter for holding for 10 to 20% or higher returns.
I mean, like you can also have I think couple of them like Pfizer and Amgen. They both are also good. PFE and AMGN. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so those things can also they also follow the same trend. So
Mhm.
I'm not surprised. I won't be surprised on this. But like it's not like Tesla. It goes like $10 up.
Right.
It's like slowly grinding. So it's better if you catch the right bottom, and it happens. It doesn't happen always. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to keep in mind. So in case tech stocks are not moving or stocks are in bearish trend, it would be good play with the pharma stocks for those who
yeah,
are uh, planning to hold medium to long.
yeah. So because like in this, I think feel what I would say is like if you keep your entry as mid Bollinger Band, for example, for tech stocks, if you keep like that, some supports, you have to keep the lowest of the support to get that thing, and it will hit also sometimes. Most times, you
Mhm.
just need to have that patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, awesome. So that's great. Thanks, Vivek, for sharing that. And I think with that, we have covered most of the requests from the members who are on call and on the group. Um, any last request from anyone? Sorry, I think Atul has one request for Tesla inverse, if I had seen somewhere. So we'll take this as a last request.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Kamal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So TSLQ is short or inverse to two times of Tesla. And since Tesla has moved up, obviously TSLQ has been going through correction. And if we look on the weekly trend, it has been in the downtrend. Although Williams R is in over sold condition, however, the RSI is still downward, and RSI currently is at 43, and you can see the RSI can go further down until 30. With its lower Bollinger Band close to 1293, at least on the weekly chart, you can expect TSLQ to drop further. With the small correction that we expect for Tesla on the daily chart, with the last candle that it almost touched the lower Bollinger Band and has reversed. So it could go further um, up to the mid Bollinger Band level of 32 or this EMA 33. However, in the longer run, it has a downward trend. So if you are holding currently at uh, higher buy price, it would be a small chance to exit out of this at the mid Bollinger Band or the EMS that we have now, and then rather switch to TSLL, which is going with the Tesla's trend. As we saw earlier in the Tesla's analysis, that um, Tesla could go further up after this small correction, which would be a good chance to enter in the either in Tesla or TSLL, which follows Tesla's trend.
Yeah, sure, Kamal. But Kamal, if you check the 4 hour chart,
Yeah,
So is
4
there
hour
a
chart
chance?
takes little time to load on Webull.
No. But yeah, my concern is like that. Suppose if we enter for the TLSCQ, maybe 4 hour chart. So is there
Mhm.
a chances maybe after 1 or 2 sessions, 1 or 2 days, it will go up till 28? Currently
Yeah,
24.
27, sure, because 27 is the mid Bollinger Band. So if you have managed to enter uh, under the lower Bollinger Band, either during the market or after the market on Friday, upon Tesla's correction, this will go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
In which case, it can touch the mid Bollinger Band level here at 2730, or on the uh, daily chart, the mid ball, there's EMA at 28. So yes, it can reach 28, which could be your um, profit booking level. And if the correction is even further than the mid Bollinger Band 32, um, but with the market momentum that it has picked, I think it would be good to book your profits at 28 if you have
Sure.
already entered, or if you plan to enter in the pre-market session tomorrow.
Sure,
Okay.
Kamal. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So I think with that we have covered all of the requests. So thanks all for joining, and those who will be watching the recording. Uh, Hope this analysis helps, and wish you all have a profitable trading week. Next weekend will be a long weekend, so we might plan for a session on the following Monday. So, with that, see you all in the next session, and hope you have a good, profitable week. Bye and take care for now.
Bye, Kamal.
Bye, Kamal. Thank you.